In 1986, FBI agent Ethan Brooks left his Asheville office for a meeting with an informant and was never seen again. The FBI started a huge search but found nothing. Then, 5 years later, a homeless man looking for shelter in an old storage unit found something shocking. What investigators saw inside would reveal horrible things and shake the whole FBI. The bright lights buzzed in the Asheville FBI office as Special Agent Jake Carter bent over his desk, staring at a case file through the steam of his coffee mug. It was March 15, 1991, another cloudy morning in North Carolina, and Jake was checking old clues about unsolved kidnappings when his phone rang. "Carter," he answered, still reading papers. "Agent Carter, this is Officer Lopez with the Hendersonville Police Department. We've got something you'll want to see," the voice said, sounding serious. "We caught a homeless guy this morning for sneaking into an abandoned storage unit outside town. Normally, we wouldn't call the FBI, but he says he found a bloody chair, shackles, and an FBI badge inside." Jake's hand stopped reaching for his coffee. "An FBI badge?" "Yes, sir. The badge belongs to Special Agent Ethan Brooks. Records say he disappeared in 1986. Thought you'd want to know since he was your partner." The room felt like it spun a bit. "Ethan, 5 years of nothing, and now this." Jake held the phone tighter. "Where's this storage unit?" "Greenwood Storage Lot, off a quiet road near Hendersonville. It's behind an old, closed-down junkyard on Route 25. Private place, not a big chain. I'll send the address." "I'm coming now," Jake said, grabbing his jacket. "Don't let anyone in that unit until I get there." In minutes, Jake was in his FBI-issued Ford Crown Victoria, speeding south on I-26 toward Hendersonville. The address came through on his pager, and he knew the area, a forgotten spot where the suburbs turned into fields and old factories. His mind raced. Ethan had been working on a human trafficking case when he vanished. They'd been partners for 3 years. Ethan was careful, smart. He wouldn't just disappear unless something went really wrong. The drive took 40 minutes. When Jake pulled up to the Greenwood storage lot, he saw Hendersonville PD patrol cars everywhere. The place looked run-down, rows of metal units behind a rusty fence with barbed wire. An officer waved him through and pointed to Unit 47, where cops were gathered. Jake parked and walked up, showing his FBI badge. "Agent Carter," a tall officer said, shaking his hand. "I'm Lieutenant Garcia. Thanks for coming so fast." "Show me what you found," Jake said, following Garcia past the yellow tape. The storage unit's door was open, showing a space about 10 by 20 feet. But what was inside made Jake's stomach drop. The walls were covered in shiny aluminum foil, like a weird mirror room. In the middle was a metal chair with leather straps. On the arms and legs, dark stains were on the floor under it. "Wow," Jake whispered, stepping inside carefully. A metal table had tools, a hammer, pliers, and what looked like doctor's tools. And there, like it was placed on purpose, were Ethan's FBI badge and baseball cap. "The foil looks clean at first," Garcia said behind him, "but look closer." Jake checked the walls. Under the shiny surface, he saw faint bloodstains. Clean but not gone. Someone used this place for a long time to hurt people. "Tell me about the homeless guy who found this," Jake said, taking pictures with his camera. "Leroy Smith came to the station around 7 a.m., super scared. Said he broke in to find stuff to sell, but when he saw this," Garcia shook his head. "The desk sergeant thought he was nuts, but he mentioned the FBI badge, so we checked it out." "Where's Leroy now?" "At the station. We're holding him, but he seems more like a witness than a suspect." Jake nodded, snapping more photos. The setup was fancy. The foil blocked signals, the chair was bolted down, and the tools were laid out like a creepy plan. "Who owns this unit?" Jake asked. "We're checking now. The manager's getting the records." Right then, another patrol car pulled up. 2 officers walked with a well-dressed man in his 50s, who moved like he was used to being the boss. "That's him," an officer called. "Property owner." The man walked up with a big smile. "Clint Ramsey, I heard there's trouble at one of my units." Garcia's tone changed a bit. "Mr. Ramsey, I didn't know you owned this place. One of many properties." Clint said smoothly. "I'm a real estate guy. This storage lot's been mine for about 8 years." He looked into the unit and went pale. "My gosh, what is this?" Jake watched him closely. Clint Ramsey seemed shocked, but Jake knew looks could lie. "We found proof of bad crimes here." "Mr. Ramsey," Jake said, "I need to know who rented this unit." "Of course," Clint said, pulling out a fancy notebook from his jacket. "I always carry rental info. Let's see, Unit 47. He flipped pages. "Here it is. Leased to a Jonah Hill. Paid 5 years upfront, even adjusted for inflation." "When was this?" "Lease started in 1987. He paid cash, which isn't weird for these rentals." "What's Jonah Hill like?" Clint thought hard. "It's been years, but white guy, maybe 45 or 50, average height, brown hair turning gray. Kept to himself, seemed nervous, but lots of renters are divorces, money troubles." Jake took notes. "I'll need a full list of everyone who's rented units here, especially this one. The detailed records are at my home office," Clint said. "I can get them for you. I keep good records of all my private rentals." Lieutenant Garcia spoke up. "Mr. Ramsey's well known in Hendersonville. He's a big donor, supports the police fund, runs charities. I just want to help," Clint said. "It's awful to think this happened on my property." Jake made a choice. "The forensics team can finish here. Mr. Ramsey, I'll come with you to get those records. The sooner we have them, the sooner we find who did this." "Sure, I live in Biltmore. Forest, not far. You can follow me, or I'll ride with you." Jake wanted to keep an eye on him. As they walked to Jake's car, Clint kept talking. "Agent Carter, I'll help however I can. If someone used my property for this, I want them caught as much as you do." Jake nodded, starting the car. "Just show me the way, Mr. Ramsey." As they left the storage lot, Jake saw the forensics van arrive in his mirror. Whatever happened in that foil-covered room, whatever happened to Ethan, the answers might be with the nervous real estate guy next to him, or maybe Clint Ramsey was just what he seemed, a shocked property owner caught in something bad. Time would tell. The drive to Biltmore Forest went through fancier streets. The small houses near the storage lot turned into big lawns and gated drives. They reached Clint's huge house, a 2-story place with white columns and perfect hedges that screamed money. Jake parked on the circular driveway. Noticing the fancy landscaping and 3-car garage, everything looked rich and proper. He followed Clint up the brick path to a big front door with fancy glass. "Come in," Clint said, unlocking it. "My office is right here." The inside was just as fancy, shiny wood floors, fancy molding, and nice art on the walls. Clint led him through a big entryway to a ground-floor office. The room had dark wood, leather chairs, and tall bookshelves with a huge desk. "The rental records are in here somewhere," Clint said, going to a tall filing cabinet behind the desk. "I keep everything sorted by property and year." While Clint looked, Jake's sharp eyes scanned the room. Law books, real estate, magazines, awards on the walls. But what stood out were the photos, tons of them on the desk and shelves. Each showed Clint smiling with groups of women and kids, in different places, some outside, some in what looked like plain hallways. The people, mostly Hispanic or Asian, looked uneasy. Jake picked up a framed photo from the desk. "Lots of pictures here." Clint looked up, smiling. "Oh, those? They're from the orphanage I support near the border, Hope Haven Home. We give these kids a better life, a fresh start in America." He went back to searching, adding, "Some kids aren't used to cameras. Where they're from, photos mean trouble, like deportation." Jake looked closer at the photo. A small sign on the building said Hope Haven Home. It looked real clean place. Kids looked fed, and Clint seemed involved, not just giving money. "That's nice," Jake said, setting the photo down. "Not many people do charity like that." "I've done well in business," Clint said, pulling out a big leather book. "I like giving back. These kids have been through a lot. If I can help a few find homes, school, maybe even become citizens, it's worth it." He handed Jake the book labeled Greenwood Storage Lot Rental Agreements. "This is everything: names, addresses, payments, dates. I'm thorough for the IRS." Jake took the heavy book. "Thanks, this helps a lot. I can't believe this happened at my property," Clint said, shaking his head as he walked Jake to the door. "That storage lot's in a rough area, but I try to keep it safe and clean. To think someone used it for that." They reached the front door, and Clint opened it. "Agent Carter, call me anytime. I'll give you my home and office numbers. I want to help the police and FBI fully." "I appreciate that, Mr. Ramsey," Jake said, tucking the book under his arm. "It's the least I can do," Clint said, looking serious. "If someone used my property for crimes, especially against an FBI agent, I want them caught. That's not what Hendersonville is about. We're a good town." Jake nodded and went to his car, setting the book on the passenger seat. He backed out of the driveway. As he drove to the police station, he couldn't stop thinking about all those photos. Helping orphan kids was great, but so many different faces in each picture bugged him. Still, Clint Ramsey had been nothing but helpful. The rental book would give leads, and maybe they'd finally learn what happened to Ethan. Jake stepped on the gas, eager to check the records and see what Jonah Hill, or whoever he really was, left behind. Jake pulled into the Hendersonville Police Department lot, the rental book still on his seat. The one-story brick building was busy, more than usual for a Tuesday afternoon. News of the FBI badge had clearly gotten everyone excited. Inside, he found Lieutenant Garcia talking with a plainclothes detective near the evidence room. Through the glass, Jake saw technicians taking pictures of the torture chair under bright lights, its metal frame and straps looking creepy. "Agent Carter," Garcia greeted. "This is Detective Sam Turner. He's been talking to our guy." Turner, a short guy in his 40s with gray hair, shook Jake's hand. "Crazy finding your partner's badge like that. We've checked the scene fully. That chair's going to the lab for blood and fingerprint tests. I want to talk to Leroy Smith," Jake said, "the homeless man who found it all." Turner scratched his chin. "We just finished with him 20 minutes ago. He's in holding cell 3, but I've got the recording and transcript here if you want to see first." He held up a folder and a cassette tape. "I'll take both," Jake said. Turner led him to a small office with a view of the parking lot. "Use my desk. I'll be with forensics if you need me." Jake sat in the worn chair and put the cassette and the player on Turner's desk. He opened the transcript, following along as Leroy's shaky voice came through. The interview started with basic questions: name, age, how long he'd been homeless. Leroy Smith, 53, out of work for 2 years after losing his job at a factory. His voice was rough, probably from smoking, but his answers made sense. "I stay around that area," Leroy's voice said. "Move spots every week so cops don't bother me. Greenwood storage, the old junkyard, sometimes drainage tunnels when it's cold." "Have you broken into storage units before?" the interviewer asked. "Yeah, I won't lie. Sometimes people leave good stuff. Sold some tools once, got food for a week. But I never saw anything like that unit, never." Jake read along. Seeing Leroy's story stayed the same. Then came a question about security. "Did you know about any cameras at the storage lot?" "Cameras? Nah, that place is usually empty." "Wait, now I think about it. I saw something new last time I was there. A little box on the main building's corner. Wasn't there before." Jake made a note, then listened closer as the next part came up. "Why'd you pick Unit 47? I usually avoid Greenwood, to be honest. That place feels creepy." "Was that because of the night stuff? Seen it maybe 4 or 5 times over months. Vans pulling up at 2 or 3 a.m. groups getting out, women and kids mostly. They'd go into some units, stay a bit, then leave. None of my business. But it made me nervous about breaking in." Jake paused the tape and reread that part. Groups of women and kids at night. His mind went to the photos in Clint's office. He started the tape again. "Can you describe these groups?" "Dark, couldn't see much, but definitely women. And kids, young ones, maybe teens. Different groups each time. They looked scared. Stayed close together. Men with them looked like guards or something." The interview went on for 10 more minutes, but Jake had heard enough. He found Detective Turner at the evidence room. "That night activity Leroy mentioned," Jake said. "Women and kids. I saw photos at Clint Ramsey's house, tons of pictures with women and kids from an orphanage he supports." Turner looked doubtful. "Ramsey's a big deal in Hendersonville. funds the youth center, sits on the hospital board. It's normal for charity guys to have photos like that. I know, Jake said. I thought the same. But with Leroy's story, he thought for a second. What about those cameras? Leroy mentioned. Turner pulled a photo from a folder. Techs say this model came out in 1990. Pro grade, records to VHS. We got some tapes from the unit, but storage is limited. If there are more, Ramsey would have them. I need to ask him about the camera permits and any old footage, Jake decided. He picked up Turner's phone and called the number Clint gave. After 6 rings, it went to voicemail. He tried Clint's office number, same thing. He just left 40 minutes ago, Jake said. Hanging up. I'm going back to see if he's home. We need those surveillance tapes. Want backup? Turner asked. No, just getting info. But check that torture chair serial numbers. Who made it? Where it came from? Already on it, Turner said. It's medical grade stuff. Someone ordered it special. Jake headed for the door, then stopped. And detective, have a Somione quietly check Hope Haven Home Orphanage. Just basic stuff, registration, licenses. Turner nodded slowly. You think Ramsey's involved? I think we need to be careful. Jake said, 5 years ago, my partner vanished chasing a trafficking case. Now his badge shows up in a torture room owned by a guy who moves women and kids around. Could be nothing, but I need to be sure. Jake drove back to Clint's house, trying the phone again. No answer. The afternoon sun made long shadows across Biltmore Forest's fancy lawns. Maybe Clint just stepped out, but as Jake turned onto his street, he slowed down. A black Chevy Suburban was parked outside Clint's house, engine running. A man in a dark suit and sunglasses stood by it, looking like a guard, not just waiting. Jake's gut tightened, a feeling from years in the field. He parked 100 yards away, behind a landscaping truck, keeping a clear view of Clint's driveway. He watched as Clint came out with another man in sunglasses, even from far. Jake saw Clint's usual calm was gone. He made sharp, angry gestures. The other man stood stiff, hands clasped like a soldier. They talked for less than 2 minutes. Clint pulled a thick envelope from his jacket, sealed with tape, and handed it to the man, then pointed hard toward the woods behind his house. The man nodded, took the envelope, and walked fast to the SUV. Clint watched it drive away, then went inside. Jake sat still, thinking. The exchange could be anything: business, legal stuff, private security. Rich guys like Clint dealt with bodyguards, but the timing, right after the storage unit find, bugged him, and Clint pointing to the woods felt like he was showing a place, not just giving directions. The SUV was getting away. Jake decided to follow, keeping a safe distance. He knew the area residential for miles. No offices or businesses for a meeting. If Clint pointed to a property, it was private, hidden. As he drove, Jake grabbed his radio. This is Agent Carter. I need someone to check all real estate owned by Clint Ramsey and his companies, especially anything near Biltmore Forest. Copy, the dispatcher said. Detective Turner wants to know if you need backup. Not yet. Just following a lead. Keep a unit ready. The black SUV led him out of the suburbs onto Cane Creek Road, heading toward rural land. After 15 minutes, it turned onto a gravel road with a worn wooden sign. Jake slowed, letting the SUV get ahead, then followed. Through the trees, he saw a big building with white walls and a red roof. As he got closer, a sign read, Hope Haven Home, a haven for children. It was the orphanage from Clint's photos. Jake parked far off and watched the men get out of the SUV, walking fast to the main entrance, the one with the envelope leading. A middle-aged woman in a gray dress came out to meet them. She seemed in charge, taking the envelope with both hands and a small bow. The men stayed only a moment before leaving. Jake felt silly. Of course, Clint would send money to his orphanage. The envelope was probably a donation. Still, since he was here, he decided to check the place out. The building was bigger than in the photos, like an old school or hospital. Jake parked in the visitor lot and walked to the entrance. Badge ready. The same woman answered his knock. Up close, she was about 50, with gray hair in a tight bun and sharp eyes. Can I help you? She asked, her accent sounding Eastern European. Jake showed his badge. Special Agent Jake Carter, FBI. Don't worry. I'm not here about the orphanage. We found evidence at a property owned by Clint Ramsey, and I'm checking all of his places. Her face softened. Oh, Mr. Ramsey, such a kind man. I'm Mrs. Petrova, the director. Come in. She led him through a reception area that smelled like strong cleaner, into a hallway with kids' drawings. Mr. Ramsey started this orphanage 5 years ago. She said as they walked, we care for kids who lost their parents, many from across the border. We help them find new families. The tour was quick but thorough. Jake saw dorms with neat beds, a cafeteria where kids ate snacks, a classroom with old books. Everything was clean but plain. The building seemed smaller inside than outside. Like parts were unused, you can look around more, Mrs. Petrova said, back at the reception. I have a donor meeting now. Someone can bring you coffee if you wait. Jake watched as well-dressed men followed her to an office wing. He sat in a worn chair, looking at faded posters. A teenage girl came with a coffee tray. She was Asian, maybe Southeast Asian, with long black hair and nervous eyes. Her hands shook as she set the cup down. Are you police? She asked quietly, her English accented. FBI, Jake said gently, showing his badge. Thanks for the coffee. She glanced over her shoulder, then back. Here's okay, it's fine here. I knew. Something in her voice made Jake lean closer. How long have you been here? 2 weeks, she said, twisting her hands. I'm 18. My name's Leela Chen, from Cambodia. Jake thought it was odd for an orphanage to take an 18-year-old. Are you okay, Leela? You seem scared. She checked behind her, then whispered fast. They took my friend last week. People came, took her and other kids. Please, help her. Jake's heart raced. Took her where? I know where, Leela said urgently. They took me too, but didn't choose me. Sent me back. They say I'm due this week. Due for what? I don't know. Other kids say it's bad when they say, due, please, I'm scared, help. Before Jake could answer, a male staff member appeared. Leela, come, you have chores. Her face went pale. Jake stood. Actually, I was talking to Leela about taking her for ice cream. She said she's never been to an American ice cream shop. The staff frowned. She had ice cream. Last week. I'm Agent Carter, FBI, Jake said, showing his badge. I've taken an interest in Leela. Bright kid. Big future. Just then, Mrs. Petrova came back with the donors, who eyed Jake suspiciously. What's going on? She asked, seeing the tension. Jake explained the ice cream idea, keeping it light. Mrs. Petrova's lips tightened. That's not normal. We have rules, of course, Jake said smoothly. But a small exception's okay. I'm a federal agent, trusted, as Mr. Ramsey would say. She thought, then said, fine. But Marcus must go with you. Kids can't leave alone. Jake nodded, but his mind raced. In the parking lot, while Marcus talked to Mrs. Petrova, Jake whispered to Leela, show me where your friend is. Don't worry about Marcus. She nodded, eyes showing she understood. Jake used his car radio. This is Carter. I need units ready. Possible situation at Hope Haven Home Orphanage and Clint Ramsey's house. He gave addresses, speaking fast, and put a tail on my car, quietly. I might be heading into something. When ready, he helped Leela into the front seat. Marcus got in the back, grumbling. She should sit in back, he said, his accent thick. It's fine, Jake said firmly. Starting the car, she can sit where she wants. They left the orphanage. Leela glanced at him, grateful, then pointed to the road. That way, go west. Jake drove, seeing the patrol car follow quietly in his mirror. Marcus sat stiff, arms crossed, clearly mad. For 15 minutes, they drove through rural North Carolina, farms turning to smaller roads and empty land. Leela gave quiet directions at each turn, her voice soft. Left here. Now straight for a long time. Keep going. Marcus spoke up, saying what Jake already knew. This isn't the way to town. Where are you going? Just a small detour. Jake said calmly. Marcus leaned forward. Turn around now. This is kidnapping. I'll call the police. Jake pointed to the rear window. The police are already here. That patrol car's been with us since we left. Marcus turned. saw the car, and went pale. "What is this? Mr. Ramsey will hear about this." He fumbled for his phone, fingers shaking. Jake grabbed it with one hand, keeping the other on the wheel. "No calls right now, Marcus. You can't do this. It's illegal." Jake pulled over and turned to Marcus. "Listen carefully. This girl says kids are being taken from your orphanage, trafficked. Her friend was taken last week, and she knows where. You've got a choice, Marcus. Help us. Tell us what you know. Cooperate fully, and the police, and I will make sure the court knows you helped save these kids. Or keep protecting whoever's behind this and go down with them. What's it gonna be?" Marcus's face showed anger, fear, then gave up. I just work there. I do what they say." "What do they say?" "Sometimes we prepare kids for adoption. Special adoptions. They tell us not to ask questions." "Where do they take them?" Marcus was quiet, then pointed ahead. "Same place she's taking you. The old Whitaker farm, abandoned for 10 years. But people use it for special adoptions." Jake started driving again. "You're doing the right thing, Marcus." They drove 40 more minutes into rural Buncombe County, the land getting wilder scrub brush, old farmhouses, rusted equipment. Leela pointed to a hidden dirt road. "There, that's the place." Jake turned, the car bouncing over ruts, through the brush. He saw an old farm rows of dead apple trees up a hill. At the top were buildings, a main house with broken windows, peeling paint, outbuildings, and a big barn. Parked near the house was the black SUV from Clint's place. Jake radioed the patrol car. "We've got the same vehicle from Ramsey's house." Moving in carefully, he parked far off, hand on his gun. Two officers joined him. Officer Garcia. "Stay with the girl," Jake said. "Officer Hayes, with me. Marcus, you're coming. Show us where these special adoptions happen, Marcus." Led them past the main house, which was falling apart, doors off hinges, roof caved in. But near the barn, Jake saw fresh tire tracks, cigarette butts, a new padlock on a supposedly old building. As they neared the barn's cellar entrance, Jake heard weak coughing from below, then a sound like someone struggling against chains. Radio for backup and an empt. "Now," Jake told Hayes quietly. Hayes called while Jake checked the cellar doors, newer than the rest, reinforced. Marcus was sweating. "They're down there," he said. "The special room for preparation." Hayes pointed to the wall. "Look, sir, a false panel. New." Jake drew his gun. "Federal agent. Anyone down there? Come up with hands visible." No answer, just more coughing and a muffled cry. "We're going in," Jake decided. He looked at Marcus. "Last chance. With us or against us?" "With you," Marcus whispered. "God forgive me, with you." The three went down wooden steps into darkness. Jake's flashlight lit a narrow hall leading to a bigger space. The smell hit human waste, fear, sweat, and something like hospital cleaner. Then his light found him, Ethan Brooks, barely alive, chained to a metal rack on the far wall. His hair was long, matted, his body thin, in dirty rags. Burn marks and scars covered his skin. One ear was gone, several fingers missing. A man from the orphanage stood over him, holding a syringe with clear liquid. "FBI, drop the syringe and step away," Jake yelled, gun aimed. The man turned, shocked, and dropped the syringe. It clattered on the floor. Ethan's hollow eyes widened. "Jake," he whispered, voice ruined from years of screaming. Hayes cuffed the man, kicking the syringe away. "Ethan," Jake said, holstering his gun to approach. "We thought you were dead." Before Ethan could answer, footsteps came. From the hall, 3 more men appeared, freezing when they saw the officers. "Hands up," Hayes shouted. "Turan." Hayes grabbed one. Jake chased the others up the stairs into the fading light. He fired a warning shot. "Stop, or the next one's not a warning." One man pulled a gun, firing wide. Sparking off a barrel, he aimed again, but Jake shot twice, hitting his chest. The man fell. The third threw himself down, hands behind. His head, "Don't shoot. I give up." Jake zip-tied him as backup arrived, securing the area. EMTs rushed to the cellar for Ethan. "There are more victims," Jake told the lieutenant. "A girl came looking for her friend. If Ethan's here, others might be." They searched for an hour, checking every building. In the old barn, N. Officer found scratch marks around a storage room door, like someone clawed to get out. Inside were 15 women and children, packed in a space with no windows, one bucket for waste. The smell was awful. Some cried when they saw the police. Others seemed too broken to react. An older woman grabbed Jake's arm. The tank. She said in broken English, "They put sick or dead ones in the tank. Please, some were alive." Check. Jake and Hayes found a ladder to the Apple storage. Tanks. Jake climbed, bracing himself. The smell hit first. His light showed bodies at least 6, rotting in old juice and rainwater. Jake radioed, hands shaking. "We need the coroner and a full forensics team." Multiple victims in the tank. Later, the farm was a busy crime scene. Rescue vehicles lined the dirt road, lights flashing red and blue on the dead trees. FBI agents and police worked fast, securing evidence. Jake stood by the barn, watching EMTs lead the rescued women and kids to ambulances. His radio crackled. "Unit 12 to all units. Suspect Clint Ramsey apprehended at his residence." Heading to Hendersonville PD, Jake felt a bit of relief. They'd caught the main guy. He saw officers cuff the traffickers. The one Jake shot was in the coroner's van, a heavy but needed result. Across the yard, Jake saw Leela kneeling by a stretcher with another young Asian girl, her friend. They were crying, holding hands. Jake walked over. "Thank you," Leela said, tears streaming. "You saved her. You saved us." Her friend, maybe 16, whispered something in Cambodian. Leela translated. "She says you're a guardian angel." "I'm just glad we found you in time," Jake said softly. "Listen, Mr. Ramsey and the orphanage are secure. You're safe now. Child services will help you next. Make sure you're okay." Leela nodded, then hugged him quick before going back to her friend. Jake left them with the EMTs and looked for Ethan, near an ambulance. Ethan sat on a gurney, paramedics checking him, even cleaned up a bit, wrapped in a blanket. He looked rough, gaunt face, gray hair, thin skin. His expression wasn't relief but sadness. Jake approached slowly. "Ethan?" Ethan looked up, trying to smile, but his eyes stayed empty. "Hey Jake, some rescue, huh?" Like old times. His joke fell flat, his voice broken. "How you holding up?" Ethan shrugged, wincing. "I'll live. They kept me alive for a reason." He paused, jaw tight. "Jake, I need to tell you something. These people are part of the Shadow Network." Jake's eyes widened. The Shadow Network was a trafficking ring the FBI had chased for years, moving victims across borders, through safe houses and crooked officials. Ethan led the case when he vanished. "They grabbed me in '86, Ethan said, voice low. "I was following a lead on shell companies. Thought I was meeting an informant, but it was a trap. They wanted everything I knew about the investigation." "Ethan, you don't have to know." "I need to say it," Ethan said, fingers gripping the blanket. "They tortured me, Jake. Weeks at first, then off and on for years. That chair you found was one of their tools. They broke me. I gave them everything: safe house locations, undercover names, surveillance plans." His voice cracked. "Because of me, they changed their whole operation, dodged our raids, grew bigger. God knows how many women and kids got hurt because I couldn't hold out." "Ethan, stop," Jake said, touching his shoulder, feeling bones. "You held out for 5 years. No one could survive that. This isn't on you. Those victims were saved today because a brave girl led us here." Jake pointed to Leela, now in an ambulance. "That girl, Leela Chen, told me where to find this place. And a homeless guy, Leroy Smith, found your badge. He could have sold it, but he went to the police. People helped each other, Ethan. That's what broke this case, not what you did under torture." Ethan looked up, shocked. "Someone found the torture room today. They moved your stuff there. Probably thought no one would look in a random storage unit." Ethan broke down, tears rolling down his scarred face, shoulders shaking. Jake saw his missing fingers, the bandage where his ear was, burned scars on his neck and arms. "They were gonna kill me today," Ethan said when he could talk. "That syringe was potassium chloride. They said I was no use anymore, that the police were too close after the storage unit find. If you'd been an hour later, but we weren't," Jake said firmly. "You're alive, Ethan. That's what counts." A paramedic came up. "We need to take him now. He needs a hospital. Malnutrition, infected wounds, maybe organ damage from being held so long. Jake squeezed Ethan's shoulder. "I'll visit you at the hospital. We'll talk when you're stronger." Ethan nodded weakly as they prepared him. "Jake, thanks for not giving up." "Partners don't give up," Jake said. He watched them load Ethan and the other victims into ambulances. The sun was setting, casting shadows over the farm. Crime scene tape fluttered, marking the awful places. With the rescue done, Jake told the forensic team and lead officer to process the scene overnight, then drove to Hendersonville PD, where Clint Ramsey and his crew waited. The dashboard clock read 6:47 p.m. as he drove back to town, the rural and turning to city lights. In his mirror, the farm's emergency lights faded to a glow. The Hendersonville police station was buzzing when Jake arrived. The huge case meant every interrogation room was full, with FBI agents and local detectives working together. Jake walked down the hall, glancing through observation windows. In one room, Mrs. Petrova sat stiff, her calm gone as detectives asked about the orphanages, role in trafficking. Next door, two men from the farm were questioned, their tough act breaking under evidence. But the last room caught Jake's eye. He joined officers watching through one-way glass inside. Clint Ramsey sat across from Detective Turner and FBI Agent Lisa Wong. Clint wasn't the polished charity guy anymore. His suit was wrinkled, hair messy, eyes cold and calculating. "Tell us about Ethan Brooks," Agent Wong said. "We know you held him. We found him. So skip the lies and tell the truth." Clint was quiet, then leaned back. When he spoke, his voice was flat, like talking about a deal. "Agent Brooks was checking our shadow network in 1986, looking at secret rural properties we used as stops. He was getting too close, so we set up a meeting through an informant. Told him we had info on a big shipment." "Where was this meeting?" "An old hardware store outside Hendersonville, one of my properties. We had a guy pose as a homeless man, asking for help in the lot. When Brooks let his guard down, the guy used a tranquilizer dart. Quick, clean. We put him in a carpet cleaning van and took him to one of my hidden rentals." Turner leaned forward. "And then, we got information. The basement was ready soundproof, no windows. We used stress positions. No sleep, hot and cold. The torture chair worked well for long sessions. A nurse I know, with some problems, kept him alive." Jake's fists clenched as Clint kept talking calmly. "Brooks was tough at first, but everyone breaks. In 6 months, he gave us the FBI's whole plan on the shadow network safe houses, undercover names, raid schedules. You kept him for 5 years," Wong asked. "He was useful. The FBI's plans changed, so we needed more info. We moved him basements, shipping containers, then the farm. The chair and his stuff went to storage when we got better tools. I never thought anyone would find that unit. Why keep him so long?" Clint shrugged. "Insurance, info, and some of my guys liked having an FBI agent to control. It scared anyone thinking of talking." Through the glass, Jake watched Clint's cold story, anger building. He turned to the officer beside him. "I want this guy charged with everything: kidnapping, torture, trafficking, conspiracy, murder for the bodies in that tank. His cooperation and status mean nothing. No deals. He faces it all." The officer nodded. "After today, he's done." Jake left the room, needing air, away from Clint's evil. He drove to Hendersonville Hospital, where the victims were. The pediatric ward was quiet, unlike the station. Jake found Leela and her friend, now named Mia, in a shared room with a child services worker. "Jana Hill," Agent Carter, Jana said. "I'm talking to the girls about foster homes, citizenship, school. How are they? Doing okay? For what they went through, they're tough." Jake talked with them about their future, then had an idea. "Want to meet someone? The man we found at the farm. He was hurt trying to stop the people who hurt you. It might help you all to meet." After getting okay from doctors, Jake took the girls to Ethan's room. He looked a bit better with Ivs and medicine, but his injuries were still shocking. In the hospital light, "Ethan," Jake said softly, "some people want to meet you." Leela stepped up, voice small. "You tried to stop them. They hurt you for protecting people like us." Ethan's eyes teared up. I'm sorry I couldn't stop them sooner. The things I told them. No, Mia said. Her English slow but clear. You fought. They broke you, but you fought. We understand. We forgive. The room was quiet. Just the beep of machines. Leela took Ethan's scarred hand in hers. Now we're all free. That's what matters. Jake stepped back, watching this moment of kindness in all the darkness. Victims saw each other's pain, offering forgiveness when it wasn't needed. Finding strength together, that, Jake realized, would beat groups like the Shadow Network, not just police or courts, but people's ability to help and heal. Leroy Smith could have ignored the storage unit. Leela could have stayed quiet. Ethan would have lost hope, but they didn't. Evil was strong, but goodness, when it came together, was stronger.